strong presence. His sharp gaze and deliberate steps left an impression, but Greg didn't think much of it. He had no idea that this elderly man was none other than the legendary Clint Eastwood, the actor, director, and cultural icon known for his roles in some of the most influential films in Hollywood history. As Clint made his way down the aisle, Greg glanced at him for a moment and sneered. To him, this was just some old man who probably wasn't worth his time. Greg was a loud, confident, and opinionated individual who often relished in making others uncomfortable with his remarks. He saw Clint as just another aging celebrity clinging to the past. Feeling a surge of arrogance and fueled by his bravado, Greg leaned back in his seat and made a snide comment loud enough for those nearby to hear. "Look at this guy," Greg said with a mocking chuckle. "Probably still thinks is the tough guy from Dirty Harry. Get over yourself, old man." The passengers nearby fell silent. Some exchanged uncomfortable glances, but none dared to intervene. Clint, who had heard the remark, didn't react immediately. He simply continued walking to his seat, maintaining his calm and composed demeanor, but the comment had landed. Greg, sensing the unease in the air, leaned back in his seat with a smirk. Thinking he had gotten away with a clever jab. He was the center of attention, or so he thought, reveling in his own sense of superiority. He didn't care who Clint Eastwood was. To him, the elderly actor was just another target for his wit. But as Clint settled into his seat, him to step outside for a moment. "Sir, we need to have a word," she said politely but with a tone that suggested it wasn't just a casual request. Greg, initially confused, got up from his seat and followed the flight attendant to a quieter part of the plane. He had no idea what was going on, but he assumed it was some kind of misunderstanding. Maybe the airline was making sure all passengers were comfortable, or perhaps they were just making some small talk. But when Greg turned the corner, he found himself face to face with Clint Eastwood. The actor was standing there, calm but undeniably stern. His piercing blue eyes locked onto Greg's. And the air between them seemed to thicken with tension. "Is there a problem, son?" Clint asked, his voice gravelly but firm. Greg, now feeling a bit uneasy but still determined to stand his ground, smirked again. "What's the old man gonna do? I was just having a little fun." Clint took a step closer, his towering presence even more intimidating up close. "You think you can make jokes at someone else's expense and not face the consequences?" Clint's voice was calm, but there was an edge to it. "You don't know who you're talking to, kid." Greg, now realizing that Clint wasn't just some random old man, started to feel the first pangs of regret. But he wasn't about to back down. He puffed out his chest and scoffed. "I don't know who you think you are, but I don't care about any of your movies." Calm.
So, you've just finished writing your book and are ready to share it with the world. But wait, what's the...
Most of the passengers were now aware of what had happened. The whispers started circulating, and some of the more observant ones who had heard Greg's original insult exchanged glances, as if acknowledging that they had witnessed something significant. But unlike Greg, these passengers knew that sometimes, even the most seemingly small encounters could have lasting effects. Greg, on the other hand, couldn't stop reflecting on Clint's words. "Keep your mouth shut and listen. Learn." That was what Clint had said. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't an attempt to put Greg in his place out of malice. It was a quiet, wise observation. A reminder that there was value in restraint and in considering the depth of someone else's life before making assumptions. Greg realized that he had spent so much time talking, but so little time truly listening. Throughout the remainder of the flight, Greg tried to focus on something else, but his thoughts kept drifting back to the moment of confrontation. His mind replayed Clint's calm demeanor, the way he spoke, authoritative, yet not dismissive. It made Greg reflect on his own actions, on the way he had so easily dismissed other people in his life who didn't fit his ideal of success or achievement. He had seen Clint as nothing more than an old man, a relic of a bygone era, when in fact, Clint was someone who had been shaping culture long before Greg had even thought about what he wanted to do with his life. As the plane finally descended toward their destination, Greg's thoughts began to crystallize. He knew he needed to change, not for anyone else, but for himself. He had learned the hard way that no one was invincible to the consequences of their words, and that respect wasn't something that could be demanded, it had to be earned. He knew that if he was ever to move forward in life, whether it was in his career or his relationships, he needed to be more mindful of the people he encountered and the respect he gave them. When the plane touched down, the passengers began to gather their belongings, preparing to disembark. Greg stood slowly, feeling the weight of the moment settle in his chest. He looked over at Clint, who was quietly collecting his things, still the picture of grace and composure. Greg knew this was his moment to do something that could mark the beginning of his transformation. He walked over to Clint's seat, his footsteps more hesitant this time, filled with genuine respect. Clint, sensing the approach, looked up, meeting Greg's eyes. For a moment, neither of them spoke, but then Greg spoke softly, more humble than he had ever been. "I just want to say, I was wrong earlier. Not just about you, but about how I've treated people in general. I've always thought I could say whatever I wanted, but today, I've learned that there's more value in silence and respect than in trying to prove how loud I can be."
That was a good lesson. Clint Eastwood is a man of grace, honor, integrity, respect, and a great entertainer. Nobody like him. They don't have actors like him anymore. All the great actors are all old. Mel Gibson, John Voight, Sylvester Stallone. The list goes on and on. Charlie Sheen. They don't have these actors today anymore. You guys are living with the actors of the past. Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, even though he's a dipshit. Have a great day. Remember to like, follow, subscribe. God bless everybody. Love your family. Take care.